On my inherited property, 96 homes were constructed deliberately, not accidentally. My grandfather left me 47 acres in Colorado, completely paid for and untouched. When I finally visited after a 3-year absence, I discovered a complete housing development where my woodland used to stand. The area featured paved streets, lighting fixtures, and families unpacking belongings into properties they'd each purchased $4,485,000 at the Homeowners Association leader, a woman sporting a Rolex who'd never done legitimate work, accused me to my face of being a freeloading trespasser attempting to con honest homebuyers. She claimed her attorney verified the land had been deserted, making it legally theirs through adverse possession laws. She'd already collected $16 million from advance sales. My response: I did absolutely nothing. I allowed construction to reach completion. I observed as they added landscaping, applied paint, and installed swimming pools. Afterward, I entered federal court carrying my grandfather's 1971 original deed. What action would you take if someone developed a residential area on your land? Comment with your state below. Let's see where my property rights supporters are located. I'm Dakota Flint. Yes, like The Rock. 47 years old, working as a structural engineer, with a divorce behind me. My vehicle is a 2008 Silverado that consumes a quart of oil monthly. There's nothing remarkable about me aside from one detail. My grandfather bequeathed me 47 Colorado forest acres valued at approximately $4.20 million. William Flint purchased that property in 1971 for $8,200 in cash. A Depression-era man who preserved every document in leather journals that carried the scent of tobacco pipes and WD-40. Upon his passing in 2019, he left me the land with a single message tucked inside the deed. Don't allow the bastards to steal what belongs to you. 3 years passed before my next visit. Divorce proceedings, 2 college-age children, and 70-hour workweeks kept me away. However, I maintained annual property tax payments each April, totaling $6,400. Never missed a deadline, always paid electronically. I retained all email confirmations to in August 2022. I finally traveled there to scatter my grandfather's remains. After exiting Highway 36 onto the former fire road, my stomach sank. The pine woodland had vanished. Replacing it stood 96 Mediterranean stucco residences with decorative balconies and HOA-required beige exteriors. A carved stone entrance marker proclaimed Ridgeline Heights, a Whitmore luxury community. I verified my GPS 4 times. Identical coordinates. This was definitely my property. The gatehouse. A security guard halted me. Residents only. I informed him I owned this land, displaying my phone with the deed photograph. He sneered. Sure, pal. And I'm Elon Musk. Turn your vehicle around. Before I could protest, a white Range Rover approached. Out stepped Cassandra Whitmore, mid-50s, Botoxed into a perpetual expression of mild astonishment, dressed in white linen that likely exceeded my monthly house payment. She possessed that particular energy of someone who'd never received rejection from anyone significant. Problem, Ray? She inquired of the guard, not glancing my direction. This individual claims ownership of the development. Cassandra finally looked over. Her eyes evaluated me. Work boots, Carhartt jacket, rough hands. I observed her mentally categorizing me as impoverished. How delightful, she remarked. Dear, if you're seeking construction employment, most crews have completed their hiring, though I can record your contact information. I'm not job hunting. I'm the rightful owner. My grandfather, William Flint, She retrieved her phone, scrolling with manicured fingernails. Our title agency conducted a comprehensive investigation. This property was deserted for over 3 years, which according to Colorado Adverse Possession Statute 38-41-101 means nothing when property taxes were maintained. I cut in. Her smile sharpened. That's endearing. You understand just enough to be hazardous. She produced a business card, gripping it between 2 fingers as though contaminated. Brian Keir, our lawyer. He'll clarify why your assertion is, what's the legal terminology? Baseless. I accepted the card. How many properties have sold? All 96. Pre-construction revenues totaled $16 million. Families will occupy by Thanksgiving. She stated it menacingly. This is a legitimate project, properly authorized through Boulder County. If you persist in trespassing, I'll contact Sheriff Mitchell directly. We're substantial contributors to his department's equipment budget." Then she performed an action that chilled my blood. She extracted her phone and photographed my license plate. "Just in case you choose to return and damage anything, we maintain excellent surveillance recordings." She moved closer. "And believe me, darling, individuals like you never prevail against individuals like us." The diesel odor from a nearby excavator mixed with fresh cement. A nail gun echoed like a ticking clock. I drove away, hands trembling. That evening, I distributed Grandpa's papers across my kitchen table. The 1971 deed, 47 years of tax documentation, property surveys. Cassandra had intimidated me, photographed my vehicle, and suggested I was a lawbreaker. She'd also just provided me everything necessary to destroy her. Monday morning, I contacted Brian Keir, Cassandra's lawyer. His receptionist possessed that tone, professionally courteous like dentists informing you about needed root canals. "Mr. Keir is attending depositions all week. May I relay a message? Dakota Flint regarding the Ridgeline Heights land." Silence. "Oh yes. Mr. Keir expected your call. He's approved me to extend a nuisance settlement of $15,000 if you'll execute a quitclaim deed by Friday. $15,000 for $4 million in property." I'd learned about quitclaim deeds during my divorce. That's how my ex obtained the Branson timeshare neither wanted. Essentially, you're surrendering all your claims to something without anyone guaranteeing those claims are valid. It's the legal version of declaring, "I surrender. Don't even care if I'm correct." My divorce attorney had advised me, never execute one unless you're completely certain you're abandoning nothing. "Inform Mr. Keir, I'll meet him in court," I stated and disconnected before she could reply that I required a genuine attorney, not the person who'd managed my divorce for $2,200. I needed the type who makes other lawyers verify their malpractice coverage. My friend Marcus, a civil engineer in Cheyenne, provided one name: Lydia Chun. She'd defeated a railroad corporation in a Wyoming adverse possession matter so thoroughly they'd extended her a job offer just to end her pursuit. Her consultation cost was $500. I charged it to a credit card and hoped that Lydia's office carried the scent of aged leather and lemon furniture treatment, the type of aroma that requires money to preserve. She was approximately 60, gray hair secured in a neat bun, reading glasses suspended on a beaded chain. She heard my complete account without interruption, recording notes in handwriting so flawless it resembled a typeface. Upon my conclusion, she lowered her pen. "Display your tax documentation." I extracted a folder substantial enough to injure someone. Email verifications, bank records, county files, every April remittance since 2019, plus duplicates extending to Grandpa's initial 1971 payment. She examined them, and I observed her mouth twitch into what might qualify as a smile on a less composed face. Colorado adverse possession demands 18 years of open, continuous, hostile occupation, and the squatter must remit property taxes throughout. If you've been paying, their claim is dead on arrival. So I obtain an injunction, halt construction. You could. She closed the folder. But here's my recommendation, and you'll think I've gone insane. Allow them to complete building. I stared at her. What? If you stop construction now, Cassandra's firm files bankruptcy. Your property becomes entangled in 3-year litigation chaos with 96 households who purchased residences in good faith suing everyone, including you. Financial institutions, title agencies, insurance providers. It transforms into legal whack-a-mole. She leaned in. However, if you permit completion, then file for declaratory judgment, you possess 96 finished residences. Cassandra's organization has perpetrated textbook fraud, selling property they don't own. They'll desperately seek settlement because the alternative is incarceration. My hands shook. What if they somehow prevail? They won't. But even in some alternate reality where they did, you've forfeited nothing. Your land's already occupied. The distinction is whether you combat one corrupt developer or 96 traumatized households. It was cold, calculated, ruthless, and it made complete sense. What's the cost? I inquired. $40,000 in legal expenses, possibly $50,000. But when we prevail, and we will, the court grants compensation for trespass, unjust enrichment, fraud, and legal fees. You'll possess the houses completely. Market them, lease them, or arrange a settlement worth millions. I had $12,000 in reserves. My Silverado required a transmission. My daughter's tuition installment was approaching in January. I'll manage it, I heard myself declare. One final matter, Lydia's tone lowered. Don't communicate with Cassandra. Don't post on social media. Don't inform anyone except your children and perhaps one reliable friend. In property disputes, surprise holds more value than currency. I retained her that day, executing a retainer contract that unsettled my stomach. September transitioned into October. I passed Ridgeline Heights twice weekly, parking on public roads with my phone camera operating. Framers swarmed like insects. The atmosphere smelled of sawdust and diesel. Plumbers transported PX tubing coils. Electricians threaded wire through structures. Each visit, I captured time-stamped photographs. Cassandra noticed me during week 3. She made a phone call. I could observe her from 200 yards, gesturing at my vehicle like I was an explosive device. 20 minutes later, a sheriff's vehicle stopped behind me. Deputy Torres, young man, probably late 20s, displaying the awkward body language of someone positioned between opposing forces. Sir, I need your license. I surrendered it. I'm on public property, officer. He returned to his vehicle, verified my plates, came back appearing like he'd prefer being elsewhere. Mrs. Whitmore claims you've been harassing her, pursuing her, capturing images. I'm recording construction on land I own. Verify Boulder County records. Parcel APN 559-32408. Owner, Dakota Flint. Torres adjusted his stance. Listen, if there's a property disagreement, that belongs in civil court. But she's lodged a formal complaint. If she contacts again claiming you're threatening her, I'll need to intervene. Clear. Translation, she funds the sheriff's campaign. You don't. Understood. He departed. I continued photographing WY November, initial families relocated. Moving trucks blocking cul-de-sacs, children on scooters, pizza delivery aromas mixing with fresh paint. I observed a couple transporting a crib into Residence 43. Watched another household plant a maple in their yard, and I felt nauseated because these weren't criminals. They were individuals who'd accumulated down payments, who believed they were achieving the American dream. But Cassandra was about to discover that theft costs more than currency. Thanksgiving week, Cassandra mailed me a certified letter. I signed at the postal facility. The clerk, a woman named Deb who'd known my grandfather, wrinkled her nose seeing the sender address. Whitmore Development, LLC. That's the woman constructing those oversized homes on Old Mill Road, correct? She handed me the envelope. My sister attempted to purchase one. They demanded $485,000 for 1,800 square feet. Highway robbery. I opened it in my vehicle. Legal letterhead. Brian Keir's signature below. 3 pages of complex legal language essentially stating, cease trespassing or will file harassment charges against you. An attached photograph showed my Silverado parked on public road, captured from inside the subdivision. Someone had circled my plate in red marker. Handwritten margin note. Document everything. I drove immediately to Lydia's office. She read the letter, then began laughing. Not politely, but genuine belly laughter of someone just handed a present. They're documenting their own fraud, she said, wiping her eyes. Every letter dispatched, every photo taken, every interaction. It's proof they knew a dispute existed and continued building anyway. This is magnificent. Doesn't feel magnificent. Feels like I'm being monitored. You are. But here's your action. Nothing. Allow them to waste funds on legal intimidation. Let them create evidence. We'll file in January, immediately following the holidays when everyone's distracted. She retrieved a yellow legal pad. Meanwhile, I need everything about Cassandra Whitmore. Property documentation, business registrations, tax liens, anything public. I want to identify who's financing this project. I spent the following 2 weeks becoming an amateur investigator. Being an engineer, I understood how to interpret plats, surveys, and permit filings that I began with Boulder County's online database. Whitmore Development LLC was incorporated in Delaware, always suspicious. Delaware corporations resemble offshore accounts for people concealing things. Cassandra as sole managing member, but financing originated from Ridgeline Capital Group, a Denver investment company. I investigated further. Ridgeline Capital belonged to 3 partners. One married to Cassandra, his identity, Preston Whitmore, a real estate developer who'd faced 2 construction defect lawsuits and one for defrauding investors in a failed resort venture. Cases settled quietly, records sealed. So this wasn't solely Cassandra's scheme. It was a family enterprise that I discovered more. Boulder County permits listed the property as previously taxed delinquent, obtained via adverse possession claim, filed March 2022. But here's the reality about adverse possession. You can't simply claim it. You must prove it judicially first, obtain a judgment, then record that judgment before selling property. They'd skipped that procedure. They'd filed a claim, then immediately began marketing lots as though the claim was approved. That's fraud, premeditated, documented fraud that I transmitted everything to Lydia in an encrypted email because I'd learned that developers like the Whitmores possess methods for complicating people's lives. She contacted me an hour later. Dakota, this exceeds my expectations. Preston Whitmore has a history. If we can demonstrate he knew about your ownership and proceeded regardless, this becomes criminal fraud, not merely civil trespass. How do we demonstrate that? Allow me to handle that. You simply maintain discretion. But maintaining discretion became more difficult when Cassandra intensified. December 3rd, I received a call from Boulder County Code Enforcement, a man named Rick Polson, who sounded exhausted like government employees handling their 50th complaint daily. Mr. Flint, we've received notification that you're operating an unauthorized dumping location on parcel 559-3240. What? I don't even reside there. The complaint indicates piles of construction waste, abandoned vehicles, and potential hazardous materials. I'm obligated to inspect. If violations are verified, you'll face penalties starting at $500 daily. I drove there that afternoon with my phone recording. The property was immaculate, except for the 96 residences Cassandra had illegally constructed. No waste, no vehicles, nothing. Rick Polson met me at the entrance, clipboard in hand. Approximately 50, sunburned, wearing a county vest. He walked the boundary, checked behind residences, captured photos. Finally, he returned shaking his head. There's nothing present. Someone submitted a false notification. Who submitted it? He checked his documentation. Anonymous tip, but it arrived through Mrs. Whitmore's office as a concerned citizen complaint. So she's attempting to get me penalized for violations that don't exist on property she's currently occupying. Rick observed me for an extended moment. Off the record, I've inspected 6 Whitmore developments. Every single one had complaints filed against adjacent property owners immediately before construction permits were granted. It's a pattern. He handed me his card. If you require a witness statement, contact me. I drove away with that card in my pocket and fury in my chest. Cassandra wasn't merely stealing my property. She was attempting to bury me in bureaucratic quicksand while completing construction. But what she didn't know, what nobody knew except Lydia, was that every action she took was digging her grave deeper. By Christmas, 84 residences were occupied. Families decorated with lights. Children constructed snowmen. And I had a court appointment scheduled for January 12th. January 4th, 8 days before my court date, I received a text from my daughter Emma at 11 p.m. Dad, were you arrested? Someone posted on Facebook claiming you're harassing families in a neighborhood. It has 300 shares. My stomach plummeted. I accessed Facebook, which I hadn't used since my divorce, and located the post immediately. It was pinned atop the Boulder County Community Watch group, authored by Cassandra herself. Alert! Local man Dakota Flint has been monitoring our family-friendly Ridgeline Heights community, photographing children, making residents feel unsafe. He claims ownership of our neighborhood despite clear legal title. Boulder County Sheriff's aware. Please report any sightings. Protect your families. The comments were a disaster. People labeling me a predator, suggesting I belonged on a registry. Someone posted a photograph of my Silverado with visible license plate. Captioned, "This is his truck. Stay safe, everyone." My hands trembled so violently I could barely type. I contacted Lydia. She answered immediately. I saw it. Don't respond. Don't comment. Don't defend yourself. She's calling me a pedophile, Lydia. My daughter's crying. My son called asking if I'm facing imprisonment. I know, and it's defamation, and we're adding it to the lawsuit. But if you engage, you appear guilty. Allow me to handle this. Her voice softened. Dakota, this is what desperate individuals do. She knows we filed. She knows her attorney's seen evidence. This is a desperate attempt to discredit you before trial. It's working. I've gotten 12 messages from high school acquaintances asking what's happening. Good. Screenshot everything. Every share, every comment, every message. It's all evidence of malice. I spent the next 3 hours documenting the post's spread. By midnight, it had 847 shares. Someone had created a hashtag Stop Dakota Flint, that I didn't sleep. The following morning, my supervisor called me into his office. Martin's a decent person, ex-Navy, runs the structural engineering company where I'd worked for 14 years. He closed the door, never a positive sign. Dakota, I received a call this morning from a prospective client. They searched our firm online and found a situation with your name connected. My chest constricted. The Facebook post. Yeah, he rubbed his face. Listen, I know you. You're reliable. But this client's a school district, and they're concerned about appearances. They specifically inquired if you'd be on the project. And you told them no. I told them you're on personal leave pending resolution of a legal matter. Which, effective today, you are. He extracted an envelope. Paid leave. 2 weeks. If this resolves, you're back immediately. If it doesn't, he didn't complete that. I accepted the envelope. Understood. Walking to my vehicle, I passed Jenny from accounting. She'd always been cordial, brought cookies at Christmas, inquired about my children. She saw me approaching and literally crossed to the opposite side of the parking area. That's when I comprehended what Cassandra was accomplishing. She wasn't merely attacking my legal claim. She was attacking my life, my reputation, my employment, my ability to exist in my own community. That I sat in my vehicle and called Lydia again. They're destroying me, I said. I just got placed on leave. People are crossing streets to avoid me. I'm filing an emergency motion for a temporary restraining order against Cassandra. Defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, interference with business relations. We'll have a hearing Monday. She paused. But Dakota, you need to understand something. This worsens before it improves. If you want to withdraw, I'll negotiate a settlement. You'll receive something, maybe $500,000. You can relocate. Start fresh. I thought about Grandpa's message. Don't allow the bastards to steal what belongs to you. No, I said. We complete this. Then prepare, because they're going to strike harder. She was correct. January 7th. Someone spray-painted pervert on my garage door. I filed a police report. The responding officer, not Torres, someone older named Patterson, photographed it with the enthusiasm of someone completing a DMV form. Any idea who did this? Check the Facebook post circulating. Probably someone who believed it. He wrote something down. We'll increase patrols in your area. That night, I slept with a baseball bat beside my bed. January 9th, 3 days before court, my daughter Emma called crying. Someone had sent her the Facebook post with a message. Your dad's a creep, and everyone knows it. I drove to her Fort Collins apartment, found her on her couch with her roommate, both looking at me like I might be radioactive. Dad, just tell me the truth. Are you really stalking people? I sat down and explained everything. The land, Cassandra, the lawsuit, the residences. Showed her grandpa's deed, the tax documentation, Lydia's court filings. Emma read through them, and I watched her expression change from fear to fury. So she's lying about everything. Everything. Then we need to fight back. Lydia says we wait for court. Emma shook her head. Dad, you've been playing defense your whole life. Divorce, work, everything. Just once, strike first. I didn't respond, but her words stuck. January 11th, the night before court. I got one final message from an unrecognized number. Drop the lawsuit or everyone discovers what you really are. I forwarded it to Lydia. She texted back immediately. Perfect. Bring your phone to court tomorrow. We're going to bury them. The Boulder County Courthouse carried the scent of floor wax and recirculated air. I met Lydia in the hallway outside courtroom 3C at 8:45 a.m. She wore a navy suit that probably exceeded my vehicle's value, carrying a leather briefcase that looked bulletproof. You ready? She asked. That I wasn't. My hands were perspiring. I'd worn my only suit, the one from my daughter's high school graduation 3 years ago, that now felt too snug in the shoulders. Do we have enough? We have a nuclear weapon. Trust me. She checked her watch. Cassandra's attorney filed a dismissal motion yesterday at 4:57 p.m. Classic delay tactic. Judge Ramirez despises that. We walked into the courtroom. Cassandra sat at the defendant's table with Brian Keir and Preston Whitmore, her husband, who I'd only seen in property documentation. Preston was approximately 60, gray hair slicked back, wearing a suit that screamed, "I've settled 3 fraud lawsuits." He was whispering to Keir, both looking relaxed, confident. Cassandra saw me and smiled. Actually smiled like she'd already won. Judge Angela Ramirez entered, a woman in her 50s with reading glasses and zero patience in her expression. We all stood. "Be seated. Case number 2023 CV 0000847. Flint versus Whitmore Development LLC and associated parties." She looked at Keir. "Counselor, I received your dismissal motion at 5 p.m. yesterday. You want to explain why you think that's appropriate?" Keir stood. "Your Honor, the plaintiff's claim is defective on its face. Whitmore Development holds clear title via adverse possession. Mr. Flint abandoned the property for over 3 years. Did he pay property taxes?" Judge Ramirez interrupted. "Well, yes, but then adverse possession fails under Colorado Statute 38-41-101. What else do you have?" I watched Keir's confidence crack like cheap concrete. "Your Honor, the title company conducted a thorough search." "Ms. Chun." The judge turned to Lydia. Lydia stood, and I swear the temperature in the room dropped 5 degrees. "Your Honor, we're not here to debate adverse possession. That claim is frivolous. We're here because the defendants knowingly committed fraud." She opened her briefcase. "I'd like to submit Exhibit A, an internal email from Preston Whitmore to Cassandra Whitmore dated February 18, 2022. She handed copies to the judge and Keir. I craned my neck to see. Keir's face went white. "Counselor Keir, did you know about this email?" Judge Ramirez read it, and her eyebrows rose. "Your Honor, I've never seen that document. It was submitted in discovery last week," Lydia said smoothly. "Perhaps it got lost in your office." "What does it say?" I whispered. Lydia slid me a copy. I read it, and my heart started pounding. From Preston Whitmore at ridgelinecapital.com to see Whitmore at whitmoredevelopment.com. Subject: Old Mill Road Property Risk Assessment. Cassie spoke with our title attorney. The Flint parcel is not abandoned. Owner William Flint's grandson has been paying property taxes continuously since 2019. Adverse possession claim won't hold up in court. However, if we move fast, file the AP claim, get permits approved, start selling lots before anyone notices, we can create enough chaos that Flint either settles cheap or gets buried in litigation costs. Worst case, we build everything, file bankruptcy, let the title insurance companies sort it out. We've done this before. Aspen Project 2019. Risk level medium. Reward level 16M gross. I read it 3 times. They'd known from the beginning. They'd known they were stealing my property. Your Honor, Lydia continued, this email proves the defendants engaged in intentional fraud. They knew Mr. Flint owned the property. They knew their adverse possession claim was baseless. They proceeded anyway because they calculated, correctly, I might add, that most people can't afford to fight a multi-million-dollar legal battle. Judge Ramirez looked at Preston and Cassandra. Is this email authentic? Preston started to stand, but Keir grabbed his arm. Your Honor, we need to consult with our clients. That sounds like a yes. The judge closed the folder. Here's what's going to happen. Motion to dismiss is denied. This case is proceeding to trial, expedited schedule. In the meantime, I'm issuing a temporary restraining order. Whitmore Development will cease all sales, marketing, and transfer of property related to Ridgeline Heights, pending resolution. She looked at Cassandra. And Mrs. Whitmore, if I see one more Facebook post, one more anonymous tip to code enforcement, or one more threat directed at Mr. Flint, I will hold you in contempt. Are we clear? Cassandra's face had gone from confident to ashen. Yes, Your Honor, she whispered. Walking out of the courthouse, Lydia turned to me. That email? I got it from a whistleblower, one of Preston's former business partners who got screwed in the Aspen deal. He's been waiting 5 years for revenge. How did you find him? She smiled. I'm very good at my job. For the first time in 4 months, I felt like I could breathe. That night, I bought a bottle of whiskey I couldn't afford and sat on my back porch watching snowfall. My phone buzzed every 5 minutes. Emma, my son Tyler, Marcus from Wyoming, even my ex-wife Jennifer sending a cautious, heard you had a good day in court. But the message that mattered came from Lydia at 9:47 p.m. My office tomorrow. 10 a.m. Bring coffee. We're building the kill shot. I showed up at 9:30 with 2 large coffees and a box of donuts that seemed appropriate for planning someone's legal destruction. That Lydia's conference room had a whiteboard covering one entire wall, already half filled with dates, names, and colored arrows connecting them like a conspiracy theory map. You brought donuts. She grabbed a glazed one. I like you more now. What's all this? This, she said, tapping the board with a marker, is how we turn your property dispute into a criminal referral. She drew a circle around Preston's name. The email was the grenade. Now we're bringing the artillery. She'd spent the previous evening with her paralegal tracking down every project the Whitmores had touched in the last decade. There were 7, all in Colorado mountain towns, all following the same pattern. Find land with unclear title or elderly owners. File aggressive claims. Build fast. Sell faster. Let insurance companies clean up the mess. They're not developers, Lydia said. They're land pirates with LLCs. But here's what made my case different. I had documentation. Grandpa's meticulous records going back to 1971. Every timber sale, every fence repair, every property tax payment logged in those tobacco-scented ledgers. My own tax receipts, survey maps, photographs with GPS timestamps. Most of their victims were old, poor, or didn't keep records, Lydia explained. They either settled cheap or lost in court because they couldn't prove continuous ownership. You can prove everything. She pulled out a yellow legal pad. Here's the strategy. Phase 1, discovery. We depose Preston, Cassandra, their title company, their lender, and every contractor who pulled a permit. Someone always cracks, usually the title company, because they don't want to lose their license. I remembered my divorce attorney had explained depositions once. Basically, you sit in a room and answer questions under oath while a stenographer types everything. People think they can lie, but lawyers like Lydia know how to ask the same question 17 different ways until you contradict yourself. It's like fishing with dynamite. Phase 2, she continued. We file an amended complaint adding RICO charges. RICO? Like the Mafia? Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. If we can prove they've engaged in a pattern of fraud across multiple projects, which we can, it becomes federal. And federal means treble damages. She wrote on the board, $16 million times 3 equals $48 million. That's what they're looking at if they lose. My mouth went dry. Can they even pay that? No, which is why they'll settle. But here's the beautiful part. Preston and Cassandra personally guaranteed the construction loans. If Whitmore Development goes bankrupt, the lenders come after their personal assets, houses, cars, bank accounts, everything. She was enjoying this. I could tell by the way her eyes lit up when she talked about asset seizures. What do I need to do? I asked. 3 things. First, I need you to map every single visit you made to the property. Dates, times, what you saw, who you talked to. Deputy Torres, that code enforcement guy Rick Pohl's son. Anyone who witnessed their harassment. I pulled out my phone. I've been keeping a log since September. Smart. Second, we need allies. Anyone in the community who's been hurt by the Whitmores. Former employees, neighbors, contractors who didn't get paid. I want a list. I thought about Rick Polson's comment. I've inspected 6 Whitmore projects. Every single one had complaints filed against neighboring landowners. I know where to start, I said. Third, Lydia leaned forward. This goes public. Not Facebook. That's Cassandra's playground. We're talking local news. I have a contact at Channel 9 Denver who loves corporate fraud stories. Woman named Patricia Hughes, investigative reporter. She's won 2 Emmys for taking down a slumlord and a crooked county commissioner. You want me on TV? I want us on TV. You, me, and every family who bought a house in Ridgeline Heights thinking they were getting the American dream. Because here's the thing, Dakota, those 96 families aren't the enemy. They're victims, same as you. When this is over, they'll own their homes free and clear, and Cassandra will own nothing but legal bills. She handed me a folder. This is the deposition schedule. Preston goes first next Thursday. Cassandra the week after. You need to be there for both. I want them to see your face when they're forced to tell the truth. I opened the folder, saw the dates, the locations, the list of questions Lydia planned to ask. It read like a murder weapon. When this is over, I said, how much will I owe you? Less than you think. Because when we win, the court awards attorney's fees. The Whitmores will pay me all $60,000. She smiled. That's the beautiful thing about fraud cases. The guilty party pays everyone's bills. I left her office at noon with a plan, a purpose, and for the first time since August, a sense that justice wasn't just a word people said when they meant revenge. It was something you built carefully, methodically, with receipts. Preston Whitmore's deposition was scheduled for January 18th at 9 a.m. in a glass-walled conference room on the 14th floor of a Denver office building. Through the windows, you could see the Rockies, snow-covered peaks glowing in the morning sun, indifferent to the carnage about to